So we're back with Nizi Project 2, Season 2, or otherwise known as Part 2, Number 2, which is the second episode, or the 12th episode. I don't know why the numbering system is so confusing. But anyways, we're back. So far, we're in the individual level tests for the second part, which is the Korea section of the competition. And 3 trainees have gotten cubes so far, no failures yet. But this episode basically gets right into it. And so we're just going to see 5 trainees in this episode, and then it just kind of abruptly ends. And then I'm sure in the next episode we'll see 4 more trainees, and then get instructions on the next episode, or the next challenge at least. So, first person up is Miraku. So Hoshizawa Miraku singing Stray Kids Maniac. He's the youngest in the group, and JYP basically just needs perfection from this song. And so you see this kid in the background, and in dance training, you can tell the trainer is unhappy. Says he needs to improve his strength and expressions. Now, apparently he gets winded halfway through the song, and after much practice, he later finds, after meeting the trainers again, that he put too much effort in the wrong direction. And sadly, I feel like he didn't rely enough on the other trainees. Like, he didn't ask for advice, which is something I think he should have done, but there was no sign of it. So, unfortunately, we get into his actual performance, and I feel like, yeah, it had an okay start, and fast and slow movements, they are muddled as kind of expected. So it looks like he didn't overcome whatever the criticism of him was, and he didn't have strength at points when he needed it in the song, and the voice was okay, but not necessarily okay at a higher note. But actually, when you see the rest of the people perform, it's not that much worse than the other people. Now, JYP takes a long way around to kind of saying he's not expressing the feelings behind each move properly. And in the way that he says it, like, I honestly feel like it wasn't explained well enough. This is actually in my notes. It's like, honestly, what he's saying is not explaining it well enough. Not to someone who doesn't get it like Miraku, I feel like. And but he becomes the first person who doesn't get a cube on the first level test. And so, that's the first guy. Next, we get to Yuhi. Komori Yuhi singing GOT7A. In training, his dancing is apparently not light or something. And when he sings, he lacks strength and goes out of tune. This criticism from the trainers basically discourages him, and he starts to get more and more worried. And apparently he is naturally a worrying kind of person, and he feels stress and pressure from what happened. And so later on he talks to Tomoya, and Tomoya talks with him, says enjoy the process rather than worrying about failure. And this motivates him to be able to practice better and be in a better mood while performing. And you know what? When I think about this, and I've been saying this is probably the 3rd time I've said this so far, but when you look at A2K and the lessons you take away from A2K, you have Yuna, who had performance anxiety, always worried about not doing well, and basically froze her in place when she needed to actually perform. Whereas someone other like KG is actually just has the sense of eagerness to perform, has the sense of wanting the dream. And, there's a difference between hungering for the position, but also just enjoying the act of what you're doing. Like, if this is your dream, you should enjoy the singing and the dancing. And it's not really just about the prize at the end of the competition. But I feel like Yuhi was smart to rely on others and to get help, because it seemed to kind of motivate him and take away his worries and his stresses and the pressures, so he can perform a little bit better and get in the better mood for this song. He's lucky that this song as well benefits from that as well, because I still don't feel like they taught him well. But anyways, he gets to his performance, and what do you know, he has a good start. He's very expressive throughout it, and his vocals are good. Rap was good as well. And I noticed that he didn't get winded vocally, which is something that happened in practice, but his dance was also consistent. And so he did a good job in my eyes. Now, JYP basically says, hey, it feels like you're playing freely, your emotional expression looked like GOT7's, like the original singers, and he sounded great in high notes, and basically he got a cube. And so the first cube of the show, that's only the second performer though. Next up is Matsubara Sean, he spills water on himself, singing GOT7's hard carry, and JYP before he performs says, "Hey, your posture's become more dignified," and he says, "Do you expect to deliver a good performance?" And Sean basically says, "Yes, I worked hard in practice." Basically, he had to go all out in practicing, and he got negative criticism as well from trainer saying that he wasn't intense enough, or the vocal trainer was saying the intense moves that he was making him unstable, and that caused him to lose confidence, comparing himself to others really. But later on he gets help with his moves from the other JYP trainees. Where is it? So here's Sodai helping him out, and JYP trainees, I noticed they're stepping up here. They're actually helping out these guys a lot, and they've been training for a long time, so some of them probably know these choreos by heart, and they're able to help him express it well. So he gets to his performance, and I thought he had a pretty good start. He had strong movements. I felt like there were several points in the song when he hit it at the right point, and he maintained his vocals as well. The only thing I would say is that there's a silent dance portion later on, which I feel didn't hit quite as hard. Now, JYP, on the other hand, says he didn't have enough speed, but otherwise the performance was perfect. So according to JYP, he was good at the relaxed movements and his singing was amazing. He expected him to be good at relaxed moments, but apparently he saw the dynamics that he wanted in shifting from fast to more relaxed movements, and he saw the change he wanted to see, and so that earned Sean a cube. Was JYP lenient on him in any way? I don't know if he would go out and say he was perfect if he didn't genuinely believe it. So next up is Miura Sodai. And so Sodai decides to sing an English song. He does Usher's DJ Got Us Fallen in Love. Now JYP hears about this and says he doesn't expect him to do badly. He expects it to be the best performance. Now I actually hate the song. Mainly because of oversaturation. Not really because it's a bad song or anything. But I just hear too many, I hear parodies of it too, and that kind of makes me sick of it. But in practice, the trainer was basically saying, I don't feel the emotion from you, and you can't solve this by force, which is basically just a brute force practicing. And so the criticism started to actually get to him. And there was no mention of solution in his background training package, and so I feel like he did just resort to force in the end, because there was no resolution here visible in the background. And so he gets to perform, and I can see that he's singing it well, but the moves, when you're looking at them, they're so literal. And so to me, he was kind of like, he wasn't emphasizing the meaning of the song so much as he was emphasizing the individual meanings of each word. And so to me, when you think about this song, you can hear this song, and what the song is about is a guy dancing intimately with someone in a club, right? And so he should actually be performing the song like someone's right in front of him, and he's flirting with her, right? He's seducing her, that to me is what this song really means. And so when I see him performing this, it's almost like he's enjoying the idea of being Usher more, like he's performing for himself rather than conveying the meaning of the song. And that's my opinion. And you know what? I found it was also discouraging because, I know that he's not doing a good job in that respect. He's singing it well, he's performing, he's singing and dancing well, but he's not expressing the song well. He's not doing a good job there. But it's discouraging that the other trainees can't tell something's wrong. Now JYP kind of mirrors what we're saying here and says, it's clear he can produce powerful notes, but it's not emotional. And JYP was actually expecting better. JYP explains how technically he is meeting his targets, but, the artistry of the song's not there. And because of that, he doesn't get a cube. And he asked Sodai what the heck is going on here, why aren't you getting it? And Sodai basically says he was focusing on the basics and worried about it. But at this point, I'm realizing this training team doesn't actually know how to communicate root motivations for acting and expression. Like, as someone who's done, like, being an indie film director, and as someone who does that, I have to explain to actors, like, if we're script supervising or rehearsing or going through lines, or me on the set telling them this is why you have to act this way and have this carry this thought in your head in order to know what you're supposed to be doing. This training team doesn't seem to be talking about understanding the lyrics or the motivations for the character that you're playing in this song. And instead what they're saying is this movement has to hit like this. So they're imagining something in their head and they're telling him in a very literal way what it's supposed to look like, but they're not actually telling him how he's supposed to feel personally. And because of that, there's always going to be a disconnect, because to some degree you can't really fake it by hearing, like, if someone says, hey, push your fist out harder, push your fist out harder. Like, I can push my fist out hard, but it doesn't have the same resonance as me saying as a director, hey, punch this part like you're punching a guy out who's looking at your girl the wrong way, right? Like, that gives you a feeling of how you're supposed to be, like, why you're motivated to hit this, and what expression is supposed to be on your face, and how your body's supposed to move when you're making it hit. Like, if you just say hit as hard as you can, that can mean a million different things. And I feel like that's where the trainers are lacking, because they're trying to give him a really literal way to act rather than telling him why he should be acting a certain way or what it's supposed to convey. And so that to me is a failure on the trainees, and I've started to realize that right here. And so he didn't get a cube for it, and I feel like it wasn't entirely his fault, but obviously to some degree someone has to figure this out for him. Hopefully he just has to hear it one time and he'll know how to deal with it the next time. But if they don't ever get around to it, it's just a lingering thing that's just a lack of communication, really. Next is So-Ken. And so So-Ken, he's doing 2 p.m. hands up. Now, JYP was most anticipating this guy's performance as the guy in last place. And this guy, he seemed to think that it was really just him having to work hard and practice. But at some point, he decided to leave and practice by himself in a room. And I noticed that he was actually crying. And so he thinks he's the only one struggling, when really that's not the case. We've already seen so many people struggling. And so the trainer's advice for him just really isn't connecting. This goes back to what I was saying with Sodai. These trainers, they don't really think in a way that helps performers perform. They think in very visual, critical ways, but not in ways that, like, get to the deeper meaning, right? So Tomoya actually sees him crying and says, you know, he offers to help him, basically. Kind of, Tomoya is basically VIP at this point, right? Like, MVP guy. And he helps him by just dancing with him. And so this helped So-Ken get into the feeling of feeling good about dancing and being happy dancing. And that's when So-Ken realizes this is the right mindset he needs, which is not to be discouraged. Now, luckily for So-Ken, there's no video of trainees telling him that he's doing badly for this reason or that reason. It seems to be, yeah, it is just really him working hard and practicing and getting the basics down. And so he just needs to be in a positive mood to keep up the work, and hopefully it's directed in the right way. It's kind of a fluke in that respect. But anyways, that's that. And then he gets to performing. Now, I felt like he started good. His expressions sometimes were really good, but sometimes I felt like they were off. Like, he kept doing the same face, which is this kind of like brow down, kind of like mean face, and he does that a little bit too often. And so it was kind of on and off for me. And then also near the end of the song, but like the very end, I noticed that he was getting vocally tired a bit. But he did make it, and so his dance was okay. I thought it was not bad. Now JYP, his opinion is that he had a comeback from last place, and that he used to be clumsy, but today he didn't see it. And JYP basically forgot he was in last place. I don't know if that was sincere, but he was basically just, it's fluffy words, right? But his vocal was impressive to him, and he said that he had a good sense of rhythm and got a cube for it. And so So-Ken seems to be doing okay. And then that's where the episode abruptly ends, and that's basically it. Nothing extra. No, I don't think there was previews, or at least I didn't notice it. because that was basically it. I wouldn't talk about the previews anyways. So there's only 4 more trainees left for the next episode. So we're moving kind of slowly. And so where are we here? We have... Did I not open up these images? And so we have these guys up so far. And so as you can see, Muraku didn't get a stone, and neither did Sodai. They didn't get a cube either. And then as for the faded out guys, these are people who've yet to perform. In the last show, I basically said that these people are competing against people. There are doubles of certain people, and they're competing against them. And if they don't beat their doppelgangers, they may not make it very far. And so I felt like certain people were very similar to others, and they have to overcome them. But I was actually surprised Muraku didn't do better. But I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention. And I'm actually very surprised Sodai is struggling as much as he was, because I actually thought that he would be the most stable person in the whole show. But then suddenly you saw him having trouble leading a team, and now you see him having trouble expressing himself. And that was very surprising, because he's supposed to be one of the best vocalists here, if not the best. And then he's not being able to express himself. It's kind of a huge handicap. Maybe it's just a maturity thing. But I guess that's it. There's no bingo, and there's nothing, no other stuff here. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, looking forward to Tomoya, AG, and those two are basically the top tier guys that looking forward to for the next episode. Seita and Taiga. Taiga's kind of a wild card because he was kind of a dark horse, but then he got through. He was like one of JYP trainees who wasn't doing well, but then suddenly pulled through in the end. And then Seita, he's just he's a model, and so I mean he's doing well for a guy who's mainly just being a model, not doing everything else. So I guess that's it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comment box down below. What do you think about me saying that JYP's trainers are not very good at communicating? And actually, JYP himself either. He wasn't very good at communicating exactly what was wrong with the guys. It seems like they're kind of just shooting in the dark. Like, even the trainers don't know, and they never really sat down and thought about it. But it feels like something that is very simple. Like, there's a difference between just showing someone and explaining the meaning behind it, and then, or just criticizing them and saying, you're getting it wrong. Like, if I just told someone they're only getting things wrong sometimes, then that'd not be the same thing as asking them why, or getting into the details about it. Maybe there's a language barrier that prevents that kind of lessons in this case, but hopefully not. That's kind of a terrible thing. But yeah, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, and then I'll see you in the next video.